All right, the Q&A, the questions and answers and FAQ, frequently answered questions, just DROPPED, that is dropped, all the acronyms. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of this. I'm not going to, you're not going to see every single question, every single answer, but the ones that do pique my interest or I think merit some thought or discussion, we'll talk about. If you want, this is on the website and the news page. You can listen to the whole FAQ. It's a great, listen, I think. Let me just ask the guy to my right. Yeah, it's a great listen. How does the Maven's gameplay progression work? Does it occur alongside the Cirrus and the Watchstone system? They are operating independently and simultaneously. So that's the big thing. So this is confirmation. It does appear that Cirrus won't be changed in any way. It's just going to be the exact same way as we know and quote love. So we'll have Cirrus alongside with the Maven. They're just happening simultaneously. The boss fights are scaled in difficulty within the arena, so there's no duplicates, and the fights are based off of the number of enemies you're fighting in the zone you caught them in. So kind of like old Talisman, if you played that. Can the Maven witness unique map bosses? No. This is due to they said they had technical or coding issues, so you can't get things that have like perma invis phases such as Death and Taxes, because the boss is traveling from one altar to the next, so they just had difficulties implementing those sort of things. Can you have the Maven witness boss fights occupied by Elder Guardians? Yes, so you can have Elder Guardians. Unsure about Shaper Guardians, but I'd imagine it's probably similar. If you die in the Maven challenge, there are 6 portals, so you could re-enter like normal, so no grand heist bullshit there. Just come on back in, even if the no timers, people. Trees are specific to each region, so you might, like I said in the last overview, you might have to farm specific zones to get specific benefits. And at the stage unlocked for the entire tree is roughly Awakener 8. So by the time you finish with your unlocking your tree like normal, which is maybe like a week in Solo Self-Found, you'll have the bulk of your passives complete. We will be getting new Zonomods available in 3.13 patch, so we'll find out this week. New Zonomod. Fingers crossed for Tempest for me. That's never happening, though. Interesting question regarding the ongoing complexity of the game. They said, how do you feel the average player, new player, will handle the content? A newer player will handle the content. They're not going to handle it, but that's okay. The Craftable Watchstones are optional content that do not lock your progress and are introduced well into the end game. Well into the end game will be probably the end of day 3 for most veteran players, week 1 for most average players, so not sure if that means well to the end game. End game for Harvest was week 1, end game for Heist was month 3, so end game. Kind of a, wiggle room there. Also, saying things are optional content isn't really true in Path. The whole game is based off of being as functional and min-maxing as possible and maximizing efficiency, so everything's optional. Playing the game is optional. I mean, I could play or I could not play. That's optional. The problem is that, doing things the most efficient way and doing things that's best. You don't have to get ascendancies. You don't have to do your lab. That's optional. Doesn't mean it's fucking like, it's still you have to do it. So optional content is, it's a real gray area in Path, and I feel like saying that something is optional content for new players is just a pitfall for them having a bad time. Because again, there's a fine line between playing the game as a new player and not having direction, but also just being punished by the fact that this game is unrelenting when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So optional content, that's questionable. And there will be a new currency that lets you respec your Atlas, kind of like Shaper Orbs probably. Back in the day you could redo your Atlas that way, so some new currency to respec your Atlas tree. Is there a limit to the number of craftable watchstones? Not really. You can replace them all, so eventually you'll just have an entire Atlas based off of crafted watchstones, which is look forward to that. You can have multiple crafted watchstones. They do stack, they do not expire, they can be traded, and they do affect your Awakener level, so you don't have to choose between having Awakener 8 and Crafted Watchstones. You will just have Awakener 8 and Crafted Watchstones. All the juice. The Maven's Orb, or like the new Juiced Awakener Orb, can only affect double-influenced bodies, helmets, gloves, or boots. Very interesting. No jewelry. No jewelry there. That's a big interesting one. No weapons either. And elevated mods can be transferred with an Awaken Orb. So if I have an explosion chest that also has Fizz taken as lightning, and the explosion mod gets elevated by the Maven, I can then Awaken Orb the elevated explosion mod onto like a additional Curse Hunter chest, and have a souped up explosion from the Maven, and also just the great, or actually I can, on the second chest I can have another souped up thing. I guess you can combine 2 Maven Orb things. You can have like, whatever it'll become, 1 curse might become 2 curses, and 3% from explosion might become 6% from explosion. And you can have a 6% explosion plus 2 curse fucking body armor. That's That's some glue trade league shit right there. And it's about as rare as the Awaken Orb, which is just on a real RNG basis. Has a rough drop rate of, we'll say, 1 in 8, between 1 and 10. I've gone 3 in a row, and I've also gone 0 and 60, so that is the life of Path. You can defer multiple items, you can defer them infinite amounts of times. You won't just lose access to your deferred items, so they are safe. There's no pulling additional mods into the ritual sites. You can't super juice it. Just whatever spawns, you kill it, nice and simple. This is actually really cool. All the ritual-specific uniques, such as new bases and rewards, they only drop from the actual trade window. They only drop from the purchasable tribute, so you don't have to worry about loot filters and worry about things on the ground there. You can have up to 4 ritual altars per zone. That's pretty nice for maps. I love this, though. Bearing in mind we're going to have a huge Ascendancy rework, what about the Scion? Chris says, or whoever says, the Scion has been introduced, included in the rework, and we think she's in a good place now. Previously, the Scion had, in the past year, or we'll say even past 2 years, she's had 2 viable endgame uses. And this, you could, fight me on this if you want. She was used for aura stacking builds, and then when it became less efficient to use Scion, which it may soon become sometimes, she was used for basically agnostic builds. Those have been the 2 that I can think of in the past, maybe even 3 years for Scion. That's pretty much been it. So, she's in a good place now. I mean, we'll see. Battle Mage and Spellslinger work together if you want to play a cool Templar man. Harvest content is only in maps, so no worrying about that while leveling. And Oshabi will just fucking pop up randomly, which is kind of cool. You can still split and copy heists and grand heists, but all the stuff is no longer unlocked. So if you do have a grand heist that is 17 currency rooms, it's still going to be there when you split it, but it's not going to be unlocked, and neither will the wings, so it's going to cost a lot more. But again, just because it costs more doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. If you have 1,000 people doing it in a heist league, and it costs 1x to do it, and you're making 5x profit, well, now you only have about 100 people doing it in, Ritual League, and it might cost 4x, but the cost of X has now gone up. It's no longer 20C in Exalted. It'll be back to 120C in Exalted. So the cost of investment might go up, but the payoff will also scale probably infinitely. So this is probably still going to be just dope. Still get our heist locker. That's nice. No stash tabs for heist, harvest, or ritual, meaning that there are no, aside from the mandatory items from such things like heist being, contracts and whatnot, that'll just be in our hideouts. No items really drop from these leagues that merit a tab, which is kind of nice. And, we've got the new 11 things for the Atlas, and they've officially removed all the Grandmasters for completion because the map is a bullshit. That about wraps it up for the Q&A overview, I think. I've looked at all the most important points. If there's something I missed, I'd love to hear it. Let me know your thoughts on the FAQ and the Q&A for Echoes of the Atlas and Ritual League. I'm Lighty, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.